All right, let's clap it up. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh, Shem Yahushua, Barakathon, all the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh, Shemar, Latham, Shem Yahushua, to all the sisters. With the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, start out at 1 West 125th Street, all in New York, under commanding General Yohana. It's the Monday night scripture breakdown class. You got any questions, you go ahead and put them in the chat. Any questions in the room, go ahead and raise your hand. Then you got any questions, any topics or anything you want to cover before we get started?
I got common concepts. I just got one scripture. I got one scripture in the I think it's in Exodus chapter 20, verse 6. I'm gonna slide verse 26.
All right. Let me get there with you. You go ahead and read it if you got it. You said chapter 20 and verse 6.
Come on. I was reading 26. I'm gonna read it going down. And neither shalt thou go up by steps unto my altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. My question was, when it said that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon, is it talking about carnal, like literally nakedness, or they're using that word for ashamedness?
Read up a couple verses. Let me see. Read verse 22. Salakia. You go ahead.
Verse 22. Verse 22. And the Lord said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven.
Go ahead.
Verse 23. Ye shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall ye make unto you gods of gold. 24. And an altar of earth thou shalt make unto me, and shall sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, that thy peace offerings, thy sheep, and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. Verse 25. And if thou with me, bother me, it's like, well, make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it. How you say that?
Of hewn
stones. For if thou lift up thou tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Verse 26. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto my altar, and thy nakedness be not discovered thereon.
I ain't gonna lie to you, brother. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm
not 100% sure. I'll have to ask, and then I'll come back next week, or I'll come back next week and break it down. Well, I'm not 100% on it. Unless you all right, no sir. But y'all I have to ask Cap and come back next week on it. Brother did have a question online. He had messaged me a question, so I'm gonna go ahead and hit that real quick. You mind getting the book of Leviticus 15 real quick? So the brother pretty much to sum it up, he asked about how long a woman is unclean on her flower. All right, so we're gonna break that down real quick. So Lakia, let me get there with you real quick. 15, and we're gonna start at Leviticus 15. We'll take it from the top. Just verse 1 real quick. We just gonna run through it real quick. And this is so Leviticus 15 is talking about obviously the unclean laws, right? And it's heavy because in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we teach what we've been taught, that the 12 lost tribes of Israel are You know what I mean? The Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans in North, Central, and South America, and you know what I mean, scattered abroad, the Caribbean, things like that. And it's heavy because all these unclean laws. We know, first of all, we know that the 12 lost tribes of Israel, all those nations that I just described, for various reasons, you know, archaeology, history, the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, all of those things fit the description of, you know, Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Salakia. Yeah, all of those things fit the you know, the description of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to this day. You know, I mean, the things that we go through, the I mean, you know, I mean, everything.
Right.
But it's heavy because these unclean laws, like if you a lot of brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, because we've been divided, you know what I mean, we've been divided and separated, and we've been pit against one another to further separate us. We've been taught to hate one another. I mean, a lot of brothers and sisters will try to exclude tribes, like the you know what I mean, the Native Americans. Was the biggest one. The most common one I hear is that you know what I mean, Hispanics aren't part of the 12 tribes of Israel,
Right.
Because they so-called got their own land and they got their own language. But what you don't realize about these other tribes is that the reason why they speak Spanish is for the same reason that you speak English. You know what I mean, as a black man, the same reason why, you know what I mean, those brothers in Haiti, you know what I mean, they speak Creole. The same reason why, you know what I mean, your Caribbean brothers and sisters, they speak patois. For the same reason why, you know what I mean, Brazilians speak Portuguese, and all the other Hispanic tribes, you know what I mean, they speak their variation of Spanish. It's because that's the nation that conquered them. You know what I mean? But if you look into history, which is partly why, you know what I mean, we going into these unclean laws. If you look into their history, the practices of the Hispanics and the Native Americans, they practice these laws.
Right.
You know what I mean? You look at their clothes, and they have fringes on the, you know what I mean, on the borders, or like the scriptures say, on the four corners of their garment, which means all over. Like you look at the Native American tribes, I think they call them powwows, when they you know what I mean, when they get together and they dance and do their thing. You see on their garments, like they be down to the, you know what I mean, down to the boots.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
From the headpiece to the boots, just fringes swinging. You know what I mean? That that's because they get it from this culture. That's in this Bible, this history book. You know what I mean? And a lot of those tribes, those Native American and so-called Hispanic tribes, if you look into their history, they practice these laws to where what we're about to go into. Go ahead and read verse 1 real quick.
Oh God. The book of Leviticus, chapter 15, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue, he is unclean. And verse 3, and this shall be his uncleanness in his issue. Have his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness.
So this is talking about some sort of like a sickness. And when you got a sickness, obviously, you know what I mean, you separate for a time. These unclean laws is what you would look at, like the COVID-19 made it crystal clear.
Right. Like
if it wasn't clear before, like why, you know what I mean, if you read these scriptures and you're not sure why, or if it wasn't clear before why the Most High made it a commandment that we separate during these instances, COVID-19 made it crystal clear. These unclean laws is like it's like implementing a quarantine. So like I couldn't think of the word. It's like implementing a quarantine, right? And you know what I mean, because cleanliness, and you'll see as we read through, cleanliness is a big part of, you know what I mean, our culture. You know what I mean? That's why when we hear things like I didn't hear like I don't know if they trolling. I doubt it. But like when we hear things like Edomites, they don't they'll take a shower like once a month.
Damn.
And when they do take a shower, they wash their hair and let the soap run down, and that's their bath.
Damn.
Or when they like when we see them do nasty stuff like kiss their dog on the mouth after they, you know what I mean, lick their behind, and they what's it called? They nether regions. You know what I mean? Now they kissing their dog in the mouth. That's why we, you know what I mean? That's why it's in your spirit to turn your nose up at like that. You know what I mean? I know brothers and sisters from all the 12 tribes, you know. I know a lot of brothers and sisters love pets, love their dogs and all of that, but like we don't get down like that.
Right.
But that comes from, you know what I mean? That comes from this. You know what I mean? And if you notice, like we're gonna, as a matter of fact, I'll wait till we get there. Go ahead, read on.
So like I said, I have a question.
Go ahead.
If I can.
Mm-hmm.
When it says, verse 3, it says, whether his flesh runs with his issue. Now it's talking about like I'm literally thinking in my mind like an infection or a sore running.
Come.
You know what I mean?
Come.
Blood running from an infection. Or that's right.
Come.
All right, come. Verse 4. Every bed whereon he lied that had the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he said it shall be unclean.
So this is that the point of these unclean laws. Let's see. Yeah, the point of these unclean laws, like I said before, is implementing a quarantine. So if a brother has a sickness or anything like that, or infection like the brother just asked about, you want to separate from that brother. You don't want to touch anything that he's touched, so that we don't pass on that infection throughout our people. You know what I mean? So like we're in class right now. Like
right.
If you have a sickness, if you're sick in any way, please stay home. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just go ahead.
Slide cutting you off, so this
good.
I'm doing some actions just to get more of the content, like what is that sickness? Like a brother be coming here with a cold. A brother coming here, let's say he got a little pneumonia, or he dealing with some that content that's one of the could be one of the reasons being say unclean.
Well, you would like I wouldn't say you're not unclean if you have a cold, but you would need to separate. You just ask to not pass on a cold. Let me say this: I haven't heard anybody say that you're unclean if you have a cold, but you do. It will be brotherly and wise to separate. Like again, COVID-19, it was the flu on steroids.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you see some of those symptoms, like you'll have you might have a lot of like symptoms of a cold, like runny nose, all of that, coughing, chills. You might have some I don't know if like diarrhea or anything like that is part of the symptoms of COVID.
Right.
That's it. Okay, yeah. Like things like that. Like if you having those symptoms, you do want to separate. Now, does that make you unclean? I haven't heard that, but it's I'm glad you said that, because a lot of these, like we're about to read it here in a second, the time that you separate, you're gonna see the parallels to COVID. Right. Like the quarantine laws that they apply here, like especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, they got it from here. Like you had to separate for 2 weeks, right? So the first week was to let let those symptoms subside, get whatever treatment you need. And then the second week was to make sure, just to make sure you was done with those symptoms. Because a lot of times you can be asymptomatic, but still have the sickness. So even though you're asymptomatic, you don't want to just, because I feel better, you don't want to come around to brothers, because then now you're passing that to your brother. And now if you pass that to a brother and unknowingly he goes home to his wife and kids,
right,
and then your wife and kids go to work and go to school, and now you just contaminated the nation, and COVID was taking lives. Go ahead.
Right.
It's like if I could by the side. pretty much you can say if it's contagious.
Yeah. Anything that's contagious that you could pass on, Salaki, you want to definitely separate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where was we at?
So like we want to check over verse 5.
All right, go ahead.
This is verse 5. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes and bath himself in water.
Bathe. Go ahead.
And be unclean until the evening.
So if you make contact with somebody who has like a sickness like that, you want to wash your clothes, bathe, and you're unclean until the evening. That's again to make sure you don't pass on anything, because you know what I mean, because you could, that's how, you know what I mean, sicknesses and viruses, bacteria is spread, you know what I mean, through contact. So if you make contact with somebody who has a sickness, you wash your clothes. And that's another thing too, like anytime you're unclean, you have to wash yourself, you know what I mean. And a lot of, I don't know if brothers aware of that, but when you're unclean, and we're gonna get into it as well, but like you unclean for any reason, you have to wash yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It defeats the purpose to separate and you know what I mean, to separate until the even and then come back in the same, you know what I mean, with the same contaminated flesh or whatever you unclean from. It defeats the purpose to come back and you haven't cleaned yourself. So, you know what I mean? But it's right here in the scriptures. And what I was saying about you know what I mean, the Native Americans and the Hispanics, as well as black people, you know what I mean, so-called African Americans, you know that these were, you know that we are the 12 lost tribes of Israel because we practice this. You know what I mean, look at our history, like Captain Katazai did an amazing lecture on the 12 tribe chart breakdown. Still to this day hasn't been refuted by anybody.
Right.
But you know what I mean, I encourage brothers and sisters to take a look at that if you haven't already. And I think he's doing more, like he's like breaking it down like smaller, going into more detail tribe by tribe. He also, you know what I mean, wrote many, you know what I mean, many books detailing each, you know what I mean, each tribe and giving these details. But like if you look into their history, they separate, like when they went to war, they separated from their women. When their women was on their flower, they separated from their women. And you know what I mean, among other things, but just to stay on topic, they practice these unclean laws. You know what I mean? But go ahead, Slakia.
Oh my God, verse 6. And he that said on anything whereon he said that had the issue shall wash his clothes and bath himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Right. So if you make contact with anything that brother made contact with who was sick, then you wash your clothes, you bathe, and you're unclean as well. All right. Go ahead, read on.
7. And he that touches the flesh of him that had the issue shall wash his clothes and bath himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
Right, same thing. Go ahead. So and you see in like in hospitals as well, like when you go to the hospital and you're getting treated for something, like you see they like glove up, they'll mask up, they wear particular clothes,
right?
Like the scrubs. They can't wear like things like jeans because jeans hold bacteria. But they that's why they wear certain clothes. Like even in the culinary field, like you have to wear a particular, like you got to wear a particular what's the word, like type of fabric, because like jeans or like any, like the clothes that you would usually wear in the street, they hold bacteria. So you want to wear things like, that's why they have them wearing those scrubs, and then they glove up, they mask up, they constantly sanitizing, because like if you taking care of a brother who got a sickness, you're making contact with him,
right?
You know what I mean? So as to as to keep you know what I mean, to keep things from spreading within the nation, potentially, then you would, that brother would have to separate, or that brother or sister would have to separate. You know what I mean? Go ahead, go ahead, read on.
Verse 8. And if he that had the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that had the issue shall be unclean.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 10. And whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the evening. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Oh, any contact. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And whomsoever he toucheth that had the issue and had not rinsed his hands with water, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 12. And the vessel of earth that he toucheth, which has the issue, shall be broken.
That's crazy. So even though, like, if you touch if I got that y'all mean, and I touch this glass, right? That glass gotta go. You know what I mean? That's how deep these unclean laws is. Mm. Like, that's how, you know what I mean? That's how, you know what I mean, the Most High in our he put it in our culture to where we don't even, that's why you see that spirit on brothers and sisters. Like, you know what I mean? You might look at a brother, like, it's some, you know what I mean? You might look at him like, oh, this brother and sister, germaphobe. You know what I mean? That's the spirit of the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, we, in our culture, you know what I mean? We do not play about, you know what I mean? We don't play about things like that. Yeah, it got to be broken. Return to the dust. Go ahead.
And every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. 13. And when he that had an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansings, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean.
So this is what we was talking about earlier about the COVID-19. Like the first that first about COVID-19, that first week, you know what I mean, you have those symptoms, you separate for, you know what I mean, however long you got the symptoms, right? And then after you are asymptomatic, then they have you, like, when you during COVID, if y'all remember the quarantine that they implemented in the US was 2 weeks. Like, if you had any symptoms, or if you were diagnosed, like if you took a COVID test or whatever the case was, and even if you don't have symptoms, you had it, then you had to separate for 2 weeks. But that comes from here. So you had the symptoms of whatever sickness that you're dealing with, and then once those symptoms subside, you wash up, clean up, you know what I mean, and then you number 7 days. So that's where that 2 weeks come from. It comes from right here. You know what I mean, your oppressor is not, you know what I mean, just some medical genius. And you see, obviously, you know what I mean, your oppressor doesn't have that spirit, because when the COVID, I don't know if y'all remember, but when that epidemic started, or when the pandemic, I think it was called a pandemic, right? When that pandemic started, you know what I mean, at first, especially like which is crazy, in like major cities like New York, Florida, Texas, I think they were the last to shut down. But even in the other cities, like it took them a minute to like get with the program. It took them a minute to shut down. Like people started to, they didn't start shutting things down and having people like separate until like people start losing their life. You know what I mean? Which goes to show that your oppressor is, you know what I mean, they just don't have the spirit that you know what I mean? Again, these laws, statutes, and commandments was not given to your oppressor. Let's get hold what you got. Let's get Psalms 149 and 19 real quick. But it's no coincidence that, you know what I mean, your oppressor, you know what I mean, took so long to shut things down. Like whole pandemic going on, and you got, you know what I mean, these cities like, you know what I mean, Florida. I believe it was one of them, Florida, New York, which is heavily populated, and I believe Texas, you know what I mean, they was rogue. You know what I mean? They was out here on and y'all know how 6th Street get, right? Y'all, you've been on 6th Street, right? You see 6th Street, how thick it is on 6th Street at night. You know what I mean? It was like that in a pandemic. You know what I mean? And it like they had to like force shut everything down because like they just didn't want to give it the program. But go ahead, you got that?
Book of Psalms 149, chapter 149, verse 9.
18 or 19, I believe.
It stopped at 9.
147, Salakia. Let me know what this says. Salakia, I'm trying to go off of memory. Let me make sure I got it. Read that, see what it says.
The book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 19. He said his word unto Jacob.
That's the one.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
So like we said, like we read in the beginning of Leviticus, the 15th chapter, it says the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, speak to the children of Israel. Yeah, I mean, these laws, statutes, and commandments that's being given isn't going to everybody. You know what I mean? The Most High isn't dealing with everybody. You know what I mean? Because the Most High, you know what I mean, he don't love everybody. Unlike what your Christian pastors, you know what I mean, want to teach you. Like, unlike what, you know what I mean, Martin Luther King and all these, you know what I mean, all these snakes, you know what I mean, for lack of a better word, want to teach you. Read, go ahead. He said he gave these, read it from the top.
He said his word unto Jacob, his statutes, his judgments unto Israel.
So Israel or Jacob is the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, so-called today. He said he showed his word to Jacob, his statutes and his commandments to Israel. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Verse 20. He said not dealt so with any nation.
He is what?
He has not dealt so with any nation.
Nah, God, the Most High deals with everybody. What did that say?
He have not dealt so with any nation.
He is not dealt so with any nation. You know what I mean? Meaning, in the way that he deals with the 12 tribes of Israel, he doesn't deal with them in that way. You know what I mean? He hasn't given them these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know what I mean? You get Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 4 verse 3, 4 and 6, Salakia.
4 and 6.
Come. And you could hold that. Hold your Leviticus. I don't want you to lose that. Because I ain't gonna lie, I lost my position. Salakia. Most High Christ. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6. Keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations.
These laws, statutes, and commandments that the Most High didn't give to anybody else. These are, read that again.
Keep therefore and do them.
So we gotta keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Which is why it's such an evil thing that your Christian pastor tells you that these laws, statutes, and commandments is done away with. Right. That you know what I mean, you under grace, which you are, but that don't mean you can break these. That that's not what grace means. Grace don't mean that you could just break these laws, statutes, and commandments. And why is that? It's real practical. Go ahead and read that one more time.
Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in sight of the nations.
So if these laws, statutes, and commandments are done away with, like your Christian pastor wants to say, then that means we don't have any wisdom or understanding. That's why you see us, getting high. You know what I mean? That's why you see us, our brothers, taking each other's lives and, sleeping with one another's ribs. That's why you see, our sisters destroyed, with, with 12 kids and 20 baby daddies. You know what I mean? And, a lot of times, like I saw something disgusting. Oh my God. And I know a lot of this be like, a lot of this TV crap be, some made up stuff, especially like this, like Maury or things like that. But still though, like that's what happens in our communities a lot of times. Like, but I saw something, it was a sister, and she was so damn arrogant. That's what like kind of got me. She was so damn arrogant where she had two men, she had two men in the courtroom, and her son. She was like, oh, he the baby daddy. I know he the baby daddy. This, that, and the third. That's my baby dad. He looked just like, you always see it on Maury. I don't know if y'all see Maury like Jerry Springer or something like that. But they saw it. They be backstage, and they be wild like the Quantuevius or whatever the hell's name. Like that's his baby daddy. He got his nose. Look at the nose. They be having a side by side and all of that. As arrogant as they could possibly be. And then the results, they be like, you are not the father. And then they run backstage. You know what I mean? But she had these two men in this courtroom. She was like, oh yeah, Don Twavius, that's that's the baby daddy, this, that, and the third. And then she got the results. Or the judge asked her, she was like, do you she like, so one of these two men are the baby father? She was like, yep. And then she was like, is there any other possible ones? And she was like, nope. She was like, think about it. And the sister was like, I ain't got to think about it. Then they cut to the results, and then both of them wasn't the baby's father. Yeah. And she was like, the judge asked her, like, okay, so do you have any idea who the baby father is? Things like that, we become laughing stocks, and we become, what's the word? What's them joints called? We become reality TV stars, reality TV clowns, rather.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because read that again.
Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in your sight of the nations.
See, these other nations are supposed to see us doing these laws, statutes, and commandments, see us keeping these laws, statutes, and commandments, and look at us as if we're wise and understanding. But, what do they look at us now? We say all the time, we run the fastest, we jump the highest, we the most intellectual people, we the most beautiful people, and I'm talking about all 12 tribes, everybody wants to be like us. They want to emulate our culture. They want to rap like us. They want to sing like this. You see people like Eminem or what's the new dude? Goddamn, what the hell is it? Jack Harlow.
Right.
They want to infiltrate our culture, the things that we, created in our captivity, to keep us from, to keep us from going insane in this, while we were going through all this abuse. They want to partake in our culture. You see, what's his name? China Mac. Where he wanna claim the culture of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The reason why that is, well, they want to emulate your culture, but at the same time, they look at you like these people are like they don't want to be like you. They don't want to be you.
Right.
They want to emulate your culture. They want to have your women. Their women want to, have our, our brothers, but they don't want to be in your condition. They don't want to be compared. They don't want to be looked at like you because what we don't realize is that we think that that's where our power and our strength lies. And the fact that, You know what I mean? We run fast. We jump high. We're intellectual. We have, you know what I mean? We got this grit. We got this, what's the word? We're tenacious to where, you know what I mean? We read in the scriptures, you go back to Exodus, the first chapter, you know what I mean? They started to increase our captivity, where they, like the scriptures say, they set taskmasters over us to what's the word? You mind going to that real quick? Exodus, the first chapter. Look for taskmasters, whatever, whichever verse that is. But they increased our captivity. The water. You mind reading it real quick?
Yeah, no sweat. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 11. Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens.
To afflict them with their burdens, just like how they did in, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, in our American captivity. You know what I mean, where they put what do they call them? Which is the modern day police now.
Right.
But the police back then was to read that again. To do what?
They set taskmasters over them, so like to afflict them with their burdens.
So that's what the police was for, to afflict us in our burdens. You know what I mean? To catch the original police force was to catch runaway slaves.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's what they did back then. Go ahead, read on.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses.
Oh, go ahead.
But the more they afflicted them.
Now, this is the cold part right here. Go ahead.
The more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew.
So this is the type of spirit that we got. You know what I mean? The more they afflict us, we multiply and we grow. You know what I mean? We go and have a hard day at work. We work at 12, 16-hour shifts and all of that. We come home and we tired of fire.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why you see our families, our brothers, you know what I mean? They'll have like 2, 3 baby mamas and 12 kids, you know what I mean? All over the place because, you know what I mean? The more they afflict us, you know what I mean? You would think that we would just die. You know what I mean? You would think that we would just, you see, like you just saw 2 weeks ago, there was what's it called? A school, can I say school shooting?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah.
There was a school shooting in Georgia.
Right.
Right? That's what they do. When they go through a tough time, they either want to shoot up the place or they want to jump off a bridge.
Right.
You know what I mean? But us, you about to say something? Or you're just grabbing the mic?
So like you go ahead and finish. I just I was reading down the scriptures.
Okay, go ahead. No, you got it.
So I was reading down the scriptures when verse 14.
And what's like where you at?
Verse 14,
In Leviticus?
In Exodus.
In Exodus. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to get off the topic. I was just reading it. I just had a point. Verse 14. So like Exodus 1, book of Exodus chapter 1, verse 14.
Uh-huh.
And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and in mortars and in brick and all manners of service in the field.
Uh-huh.
And all their service wherein they made them serve with rigor.
Uh-huh.
I was heavy because I was just that's they even showed that we are the people, we are Israel because I'm talking for the slaves. I mean how they because we was doing this there, so they that's just, I'm saying that's why we built these things. We were building things using more using our hands. And they knew that. That's why they took it from Egypt and bring us over here because we was great with our hands.
Right. Absolutely.
So that give you more evidence if we are the people today, Israel, you know what I'm saying? So
and that like what you said was heavy, give them a hand. And also, that's how you also know that we're not Africans.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we're the only ones who's confused. Like we're over here in America wearing kente cloth and we think that we're Africans. But these other nations or these real Africans, you know what I mean? They come over here and they don't relate to us.
Right.
You know what I mean? They where was the canoe they sent for their long lost brothers?
Right.
You know what I mean? We was stolen, right? You know what I mean? I know, you know what I mean, when them brothers and sisters were locked down in them, I think they still down there, right? The Hispanic brothers and sisters in them cages, they still locked, you know what I mean? But I know like when we, you know what I mean, when we lose our loved ones, you know what I mean, we work tirelessly, you know what I mean, to get our family back. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, where was the canoe they sent over? These Africans,
Right?
You know what I mean, we so-called Africans, we wearing kente cloths and these dashikis and all of that, doing the Wakanda forever and all of that. You know what I mean? Where was the canoe at? And then furthermore, they separate from us. You know what I mean? That's how you know that they, you know what I mean, we're not those people, because like the brother said, they did that to us here, and that's why they came and got us, because this is the type, you know what I mean, this is the type of people, you know what I mean, we're just a resilient people.
Right.
And your oppressors, the Africans, they sold you. You go to Deuteronomy, I don't want to jump around too much, but you go to Deuteronomy 28 and the 68th verse, and it'll tell you that we were going to Egypt to get Orslakia. Is that the one where it said we would be sold unto our enemies and none shall redeem you?
28:68.
Yeah, like they sold you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's why, you know what I mean, blacks, so-called black people are over here in American slavery, scattered North, Central, South America into the, you know what I mean, these various places. But there ain't no Hamites a part of it.
Right.
There ain't no fufu eating, you know what I mean, the slope head joints. You know what I mean? And they not over here, you know what I mean, going, you know what I mean, serving in rigor, because they know who we are. We are not them.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I said all that to say, like, we put our faith in, you know, our abilities, which is fine, or not fine. So, like, let me not say that. You know what I mean? It's fine to have abilities. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? We got a lot of them. You know what I mean? We do run fast. We do jump high. You know what I mean? You see this Olympics, you know what I mean? It was gold medals everywhere for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. But that's not where your wisdom and understanding comes from.
Right.
You know what I mean? They might look at you as you run fast, you strong, you handsome, our women are beautiful, but they not going to look at you. No nation looks at us as wise, because we don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. And that's also why, you know what I mean, your oppressor, just to go back to the COVID thing, that's why your oppressor doesn't have the spirit to, you know what I mean, separate when there's an uncleanness amongst them.
Right.
You know what I mean? COVID was running rampant, and they was just out this joint, you know what I mean, spring breaking and, you know what I mean, partying on 6th Street, drinking, sharing drinks, driving a boat, doing all this, all manner of, you know what I mean, craziness. And, you know what I mean, you would think that, you know what I mean, you would think that it's harmless. Well, that's what they was thinking. They was like, oh, it's harmless. You know what I mean? It's not a big deal. It's just a cold. You know what I mean? But the Most High looks at that as disgusting. Like, you got a sickness going around, and y'all just around here sharing drinks, and you know what I mean, kissing in the mouth and all of that. You know what I mean, kissing these strangers. And I don't know if y'all, like, if y'all been on 6th Street, you know what I mean, for the brothers and sisters online, you know what I mean, I don't know if y'all been on 6th Street, but you see it, man. It's just, it get rowdy. You know what I mean? It's nakedness. It's just good night. It get crazy. You know what I mean? But all of that during the pandemic, you know what I mean? That just goes to show that they don't have these laws, statutes, and commandments. They don't have the wisdom and understanding that the Most High gave us through these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. We are not the same. And the Most High, like the brother just read, in Psalms, the 147th chapter, you know what I mean? These laws, the Most High isn't dealing with them. You know what I mean? He hasn't dealt so with any nation. Go back to that Leviticus, or it's like not Leviticus, that Exodus real quick. If I'm missing anything on that. But yeah, we was oh yeah, get that, yeah, fit, yeah. But we resilient, you know what I mean? We resilient, you know what I mean? They put us through all this bondage. We just read that you know what I mean, they made us serve with rigor, and they afflicted us with our burdens, but the more they afflicted us, the more we grew as a nation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I believe when we started off, it was just you know what I mean, Jacob, his 12 sons, and Joseph and his 2 sons, right? And they was in, I think it was Goshen, but they I think that was the extent of their family. Them, and I believe I don't know if it mentions their wives or anything, but I'm sure they had women. But it was just them at the time. And they had grew and grew and grew and grew. And if you read the same chapter and start from the top, it says that 7 souls?
70. So like
70. Oh, okay, got you. But we started off in Goshen. just 70 of us. And, you know what I mean, nation just grew and grew and grew and grew. And the more they afflicted us, the more we grew. You know what I mean? Whereas if you look at any other nation, we would have just, you know what I mean, they would have just perished. Like I said before, you look at Esau, and if, you know what I mean, whereas I'll give you this example. Like you see brothers, you know what I mean, they be on child support. They check be like 2-3 bands. And then you look at the pay stub and it's a child support, child support, child support, child support.
Right.
And by the time you get to that bottom line, they got about $80.
Right.
You know what I mean? I know my father, he used to show us pay stubs on the regular. You know what I mean? He just show us pay stubs like, look, this is my check. This is what I made. And this is what I took home.
Right.
You know what I mean? It'd be like $30 at the end of it. You know what I mean? But we keep going. We keep going. We find a way to, you know what I mean, make things shake. We find a way to make things shake. But like if your oppressor was going through the things that they put us through, they jumping off a bridge. You know what I mean? If they you know what I mean, they invest in you know what I mean, a lot of them they like to invest in the stock market and all of that. If they invest, you know what I mean, something in the stock market and that stock crash, I mean you saw it in I forget what time period was it when the stock market crashed?
Oh shit.
But you saw when the stock market crashed. You know what I mean? It was raining Edomites.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's what they do when they go through hard times. But when we go through hard times, we grow. You know what I mean? But all of that means nothing. You know what I mean? All of those abilities don't mean nothing if we're not applying these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because we could be resilient all we want to. We could be intellectual all we want to. We could be, you know what I mean, athletic all we want to. But none of those things will make you wise.
Right.
Like we just read in Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. The law, statutes, and commandments. You still got that? Go ahead, read it again.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 6. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. See,
that's why you know what I mean, you got these groups like the INFAC. You know what I mean? Back in, I believe, what it was like 2021, 22, something like that. The Not Effing Around Coalition. You know what I mean? You got Black Lives Matter movement. You got, you know what I mean, the Black Panther movement. You got all these movements that failed because, you know what I mean, for the longest time, we rely on our ability.
Right.
But we need to start relying on the Most High because what he gave us is our wisdom and our understanding. You know what I mean? He's never, you know what I mean? I forget where it's at, but he said he didn't choose us because we were the, you know what I mean, the largest nation. He chose us because he chose us.
Right.
You know what I mean? We were the smallest of all the nations.
Right.
And he chose us. You know what I mean? So it ain't never had nothing to do with ability, but it's these laws, statutes, and commandments that's gonna put us on top, man. Go ahead.
So like you, sir, even what you saying that these brothers, they try to lean on their own understanding and create their own like little stuff like Rashad Jamal and them, and they all end up getting shut down throughout trying to get their chakras aligned and just try to step outside of Esau matrix or whatever they want to call it, and they still end up getting shut down because, like you say, they don't have this scripture and this understanding, and they trying to just figure some stuff out on their own, and it don't work.
Like you see that? Well, give them a hand. You see it all the time, like where these you see it all the time where these celebrities, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, we got to create generational wealth.
Right.
What's his name? Steve Harvey say? He said the best thing that you can do for poor black folk is not be one of them.
Right.
He ain't gave back to, you know what I mean? He ain't did nothing for black people.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? It's crazy that he even, you know what I mean, said that. But all that aside, you know what I mean? You becoming a rich man, you know what I mean, don't mean nothing. You know what I mean? You getting your paper together and then go ahead and get your paper. You know what I mean? Because we living in hell. But like, again, that ain't what's going to, you know what I mean, save you. That's not what's going to give you wisdom and understanding. You know what I mean? Steve Harvey, you know what I mean, rich to the mug, but he dumb as a box of rocks.
Right.
You know what I mean? With that goofy mustache.
Right.
But, or what you about to say?
It's like it, if I could. He just have an evil. That's just an evil spirit. Man, because I come from dirt. I'm gonna try to help the other brother come get out the dirt. That's true, brother. You really down with your brother, your kind, and you're gonna show him how to get out of the dirt just like you got out of the dirt.
Right.
Man, you made it out when you did. Help the other brother behind you to make it out. You know what I'm saying? So that's just an evil spirit. That's all that is.
And if I could just add to that, like the way he's trying to like not be one of these poor people, you know what I mean, or to like try to pass on his pseudo knowledge, what he thinks is wisdom,
right,
is some, like you said, some evil stuff. Like he did that, act like a lady, think like a man.
right.
You know what I mean, he teaching our sisters to, you know what I mean, he's destroying, he's putting information out there that's going to destroy and is destroying our household.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was a he did a stand up before he retired from stand up. He said that you know what I mean, for the right price, he gonna act like a monkey. You know what I mean? He's teaching you in order to get $1, you know what I mean, because we're poor, we're hungry. You know what I mean? He's teaching you in order to get $1, you gotta degrade yourself. You gotta you know what I mean? You gotta play a game.
Right.
You know what I mean? You gotta degrade yourself as a man to get $1, and as a woman, you gotta play mind games with your family. And that's destroying us. So like you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna add to, I was just gonna say what you said, Priest. He made his money off single poor women with that book. With that act like a woman, with that act like a man, think like a lady. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want to say on that.
And it's so heavy. You had your hand up too? Okay, no sweat. But it's so heavy because his wife did the exact same thing. When she y'all heard about that? The pool boys, I think, right?
Yeah.
Somebody working in the house.
Yeah, she followed his instructions in that book. She acted like a lady on the outside, but she was thinking like a man. You know what I mean? And getting rotted down by the pool boy. And that just to the point, you know what I mean? It goes to show like your ability and your money, you know what I mean? That's not going to keep your family together. That's not going to keep your household together. That's not going to, you know what I mean? That's not going to be something that's viable to pass down to your youth. And, you know what I mean? Build a raise a family, build a foundation. You know what I mean? Again, you could be rich as you want to be, but you done with a box of rocks without these laws, statutes, and commandments. And guess what? You done worked all your life cooning and doing monkey dances. And, you know what I mean? These sisters, you know what I mean? These sisters, you know what I mean? I be hearing on social media on, you know what I mean, these podcasts, and they be talking about these OnlyFans and all of these joints that they doing. They bringing in bread, you know what I mean, quick bread. But when they get older, like what's her name, Cardi B, or what's her name, the city girl, I forget her name, but they are like, I don't want my daughter to get it like this,
right? But
you know what I mean, that's what you done taught your daughter. You know what I mean? You ain't no way you gonna get it like that. You making millions, you know what I mean, with your body.
Right.
You know what I mean? You ain't gotta go to school, you ain't gotta have nothing in your empty head. All you gotta do is just bust it open. And then you go tell your daughter, with all this money, right? You done made this living. You got all the bags that you want, you driving the flyest cars, you know what I mean? You living this lifestyle that your daughter wanna live, that your children wanna live, but you don't want her to get it like that. She gonna look at you like, get out of here.
Right,
all right. She don't get it just like you did.
Right.
You know what I mean? But again, like, you know what I mean? You can have all this bread, you can have all this ability, but that ain't what's going to make you wise.
Right.
And you can't pass down, if you don't have these laws, statutes, and commandments, you're not doing nothing. You can't do nothing but pass down stupidity.
Right.
And folly. You know what I mean? Which is why, you know what I mean, we bred it up, but we dumb as a box of rocks. You know what I mean? A lot of us. Oh, slack it. Somebody was about to say something? Go ahead. Okay, no sweat. All right, let's go back to that Leviticus real quick. But you know what I mean? And it goes to show, like, the Most High isn't dealing with any of these nations. You know what I mean? He gave us these laws, statutes, and commandments. This is supposed to be our wisdom and understanding in the side of the other nations. Which is why, you know what I mean, when we put down our culture, your oppressor picks it right up, and they succeed. You know what I mean? The reason why, you know what I mean, America was able to, you know what I mean, the world was able to get through this pandemic is because they follow these laws, statutes, and commandments that we read in Leviticus, the 15th chapter.
Right.
You know what I mean? The reason why the Yarmulke man, you know what I mean, is able to rule, you know what I mean, is ruling over the world, you know what I mean, running the diamond district, running every single industry you could think of off the top of your head, is because he picked up our laws, statutes, and commandments when we put them down.
Right.
You know what I mean? These other nations, they succeed when they follow our laws, statutes, and commandments, and when we're not following our laws, statutes, and commandments. So this is where your wisdom comes from.
Right.
But that's why we're going through this right now. You know what I mean? Everything that you see, you know what I mean? everything that you know what I mean, that we reading out of these laws, you know what I mean, when your oppressor implements them, they succeed and they rule over you, man. So, you know what I mean, just think about if the children, you know what I mean, the nation who these laws, statutes, and commandments belong to. Imagine if we came back.
Right.
The type of nation that we can be. You know what I
Right.
mean? How strong and how powerful we can be. You know what I mean? How strong our families can be. You know what I mean? Go ahead. Where was we at in Leviticus?
Leviticus 15. Con says, this is a book of Leviticus, chapter 15, verse 14. And on the 8th day,
it's like it dropped down to 16.
Con. And if any, verse 16, and if any man see of copulation go out from him.
We know what seed of copulation is, right? Yeah. You could have said it in the mic. It ain't a bad word. But yes, your seed. You know what I mean? Your semen. You know what I mean? If that goes out of a man, go ahead.
Shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening.
So again, after you you know what I mean, you lay with your woman, you know what I mean, you wash yourself. You know what I mean, you don't just sit there in that, you know what I mean, filth. I don't know. It get wild, you know what I mean? Right. You gotta clean yourself.
Right.
You gotta clean yourself, change your clothes, man, wash your clothes, take your shower, you know what I mean? Get back right. And you unclean until the evening. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Verse 18. The women also with whom man shall lie with.
Did you read 17?
Salaki. Verse 17. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of compilation shall be washed with water and be unclean until the evening.
Yeah, make sure you wash them bed sheets. You know what I mean? Make sure you get it all together. Go ahead. You know what I mean? It defeat the purpose, you know what I mean, to wash your behind, wash your clothes, and then you get back in the same bed.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know what I mean? Wash it. Wash some seats. Wash you're not you're not clean until you wash yourself. Go ahead.
So that's like about code. So that's even the sperm is on the, so you wash the sheets, you put the sperm on the bed. So the sperm don't go in the bed, you don't have to wash the sheets, so you still have to wash the sheets.
You gotta you said if it don't, just everything what it says here is where the seed of compilation touches. So you know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, I would just wash them anyway, because you don't know where, you know what I mean, when you in the heat of passion, you know what I mean, we don't know where it's going, you know what I mean. So I would just be on the safe side and just wash it. But, go ahead.
What was that? 17, 18?
18.
This is verse 18.
Slucky, you mind if I get the water real quick? You might grab the water.
The woman also with whom man shall lie with, see the compilation shall both bathe themselves in water.
So you unclean and that sister's unclean.
Right.
I mean, so y'all both wash your behind, you know what I mean? And you unclean to the evening. All right, go ahead.
And be unclean until the evening. 19.
Water.
And if a woman have an issue,
all right,
and her issue in her flesh be blood.
You know what that is?
That's the flower.
That's the flower. You know what I mean? Her monthly. Go ahead.
She shall be put apart 7 days.
See, when a sister's on her flower, she separates for 7 days. All right.
And
which is the typical, you know what I mean? That's typically how long the, you know what I mean, the cycle lasts. But we go read on. Go ahead.
And whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening.
So that's why when you see, like, when we have like cookouts, feast days, things like that, class, like if a sister is on her flower, on her monthly, you know what I mean, she separates. You know what I mean, we have a cookout, you know what I mean, we have like separate like chairs for them to, you know what I mean, to sit in.
Right.
I know it'd be rough sometimes, but that's, you know what I mean, that's how you keep you know what I mean, sicknesses from being passed around, because whatever, you don't want whatever's coming out of you to now end up, you know what I mean, on another brother, another sister,
right.
You know what I mean, or, you know what I mean, spreading throughout the nation, and now the nation is sick. Go ahead.
Verse 20. And everything that she laid upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she set it upon should be unclean.
So if that sister, you know what I mean, whatever she sit on, whatever she lay on, you know what I mean, she's unclean. You know what I mean? So if your sisters, you know what I mean, you on your flower, you know what I mean, you can't just be, you know what I mean, just out here willy-nilly, just, you know what I mean, you got to be mindful. Let me say it like that. You got to be mindful of what you're doing, what you're touching. You got to make sure you're, you know what I mean, you taking care of that properly. Right? Go ahead.
Verse 21. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
So when your woman is on her flower, you know what I mean, you separate from her as well. You know what I mean? You can't just be all laid up and, you know what I mean? I know we are real affectionate people, but you don't want to just be all laid up with your woman and she, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? She go on her flower, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Wrap up in like a blanket, you know what I mean? Separate. Make sure you're not making no contact, because if you make contact, then you unclean to the even.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 22. And whosoever touch anything that she set upon shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening.
And this is, I believe, this is where the brother's question was. We get into it. I don't know if you're watching online, but go ahead, read on.
Verse 23.
Let me see the chat, if you don't mind.
And if it be on her bed or on anything whereon she said, when he touched it, he shall be unclean until the evening.
So like it. Which verse you at?
23, sir.
23. All right. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 24. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days.
So if you make contact with that issue, right, you're unclean for 7 days. So as long as she's unclean, you're unclean because you make contact with that issue. You know what I mean? Again, these cleanliness laws are a quarantine. So it's practical. You know what I mean? The whole purpose is to make sure you don't spread whatever you got going on, you don't spread that. So if you make contact with this sister, she got this issue for 7 days, then you now have to separate for 7 days because whatever is coming out of her is now on you. Right. So you got to wait until, you know what I mean, she's now clean. And it's going to tell you, you know what I mean, how to deal with that moving forward. First of all, you shouldn't, I pray I don't have to say this, but you shouldn't be, you know what I mean, laying with no sister while she, you know what I mean, unclean anyway. You know what I mean? But, you know, I know brothers be wilding. So, yeah, you know. But go ahead.
Verse 25. And if a woman have an issue on her blood many days of the time of her separation, or if it runs beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean.
So a lot of times, like sometimes a sister will have a irregular cycle. Like it's some sisters, you know what I mean? Okay, yeah, that brother. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Some brothers, or it's like it. Some sisters, they might be, they might have a, you know what I mean, a short cycle. You know what I mean? It might be like 3 or 4 days, right? She's unclean for 7. You know what I mean? She do her thing for 3 or 4 days, however long it is, and then you count them 7 days. So you're unclean for those 7 days. And then some sisters, you know what I mean, they might have a longer cycle. Like I know a sister back in the day, you know what I mean? It was like she would have a cycle like every 3 months. And it'll be like when she did have a cycle, it was like crazy. Like it'll be like it'll be like irregularly long. You know what I mean? You dealing with a sister like that, she's unclean for those 7. And if it runs past those 7 days, then however long it runs, then she's unclean. So if she has a cycle for 10 days, she's unclean for 10 days, right? You get the point, right? Go ahead.
Verse 26. Every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation. And whatsoever she sitteth upon, she shall be unclean, as the uncleanness of her separation.
So again, when a sister's on her flower, you want to separate. You know what I mean? Ideally, you know what I mean, if we wasn't in hell, you know what I mean, we would, you know what I mean, completely separate. Like she would, you know what I mean, she would not be in the house. You know what I mean? With the, but you know, we in hell. So, you know, brothers, a lot of brothers, you know what I mean? I don't know too many brothers who just got, you know what I mean, enough bread to just be paying rent, you know what I mean, rent every month for multiple places for, you know what I mean, a sister to separate for a week or however long. But you want to separate, you know, regardless. You want to separate, be mindful again of where you sitting, what you touching, what you doing. You know what I mean? Ask to not spread that sickness. It's like you. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 27. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the evening.
Whoever touches her, or touches anything that she touches or sit on, you unclean until even. Go ahead.
Verse 28. But if she be cleansed from her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean.
So after, so after a sister, you know what I mean, goes through her cycle, once she's done, she washes herself. You know what I mean? Again, you're not clean again. I mean, you could, you know what I mean, you could wait until even, you know what I mean, whatever you're dealing with, whether you you know what I mean, for whatever reason that you're unclean. You know what I mean, you could wait until even, but if you don't wash your behind, if you don't wash your clothes, if you don't wash the things that you know what I mean, you were unclean in, it defeats the purpose. You know what I mean? So after a sister goes through her cycle, you know what I mean, she done with her cycle, you number those 7 days, and then she washes herself after the 7 days if she's done. You know what I mean? If she runs past 7 days, you just wait until she's done. She cleans herself, you know what I mean? And then you know what I mean, back to regular scheduled program. You know what I mean? But that was the brother's question. You know what I mean? Let's see if there's anything else in here. But yeah, so you know what I mean, and you notice that's the trend for like any uncleanness. You know what I mean? If you're unclean for whatever reason, I believe the next chapter. Let me see what the next chapter. Nah, it might be maybe the previous chapter, but it's in a different yeah, okay, so I believe in the previous chapter, chapter 14, it talks about like leprosy. Like if a brother has like a, you know what I mean, like boils or like, you know what I mean, a sickness, like something that's like real nasty and contagious. You know what I mean? Talks about, you know what I mean, the same separation laws. And the trend is, you know what I mean, you separate, and then once you're done, whatever made you unclean, you wash yourself, you know what I mean? You wash your clothes, you wash whatever you make contact with, and then you good to go to come around the congregation. But you know what I mean, these laws, statutes, and commandments, every law that's in this Bible, you know what I mean, we might not understand it right off the rip because we've been so far removed from our culture, but these laws, statutes, and commandments, all of them are practical. You know what I mean? And they're there for a reason. So even if you don't understand it, I mean, you can always ask. Like if you don't understand a law or why it's there or whatever the case is, you can always ask. But you know what I mean? You keep them anyway. You keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. And that's, again, why it's so evil that, you know what I mean, your Christian pastors want to tell you that you know what I mean, these laws is done away with. Because, you know what I mean, because they don't follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Now you got you know what I mean, a brother sick or a sister, you know what I mean, on her flower, she up in that congregation doing all that hopping around and dancing and sitting on things. And you know what I mean, you got brothers running red lights, and you know what I mean, you got We eating all this, you know what I mean? You even go to the dietary law, you know what I mean? We eating all these abominable creatures, you know what I mean? Spreading sicknesses and diseases, you know what I mean? High blood pressure, hypertension, you know what I mean? Gout, you know what I mean? Where, you know what I mean? We losing our lives, we passing away at, you know what I mean? At 50, 60, 70, like, you know what I mean? And we just kind of, you know what I mean, bearing with it, but that's not how it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's not how it's supposed to be at all. And do you see these other nations, like the, you know what I mean, the Moabites, you know what I mean, the so-called Chinese, where they eating all manner of just filth. You know what I mean? Eating squid and octopus and rats and bats, which is where the COVID-19 came from. But, you know what I mean, you see in their nations that, you know what I mean, a lot of them, they live to be like 100-something years old. You know what I mean? I think well, never mind, I'm not gonna get into that. But I mean, they live into, you know what I mean, the ripe old age of, you know what I mean, 100-something years old. You know what I mean? That just goes to show like what we just read in Psalms 147th chapter, that the Most High isn't dealing with these other nations. You know what I mean? So they can, you know what I mean? Where does it say? As for their these laws, that as for my laws they have not known. Was that in Salakia? Let me see where that's at. They have not Salakia. Hey, Salakia, priest. What's that scripture where it says, as for my laws, they haven't known them? These other nations haven't known them. Amos, the 3rd chapter.
3 and 4.
Let's go to that real quick.
Amos 3 and 4.
Kind. Well, you can take it from the top. Amos. I think it's some more in there. Amos.
Amos, the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
Hear this word, the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known.
Nah, he knows everybody.
You only have I known.
Nah, he knows the Moabites over there eating pangolin. Go ahead.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
So of all the families of the earth, you know what I mean, the Christian pastor like to lie to you and say that God loves everybody, and you know what I mean, there ain't no color. What they like to say, you know what I mean, they don't see color.
Right.
You know what I mean? Which is I can't tell, because the police show see color.
Right.
You know what I mean, when they pull your black behind over, you know what I mean, you remember color when they get behind you. You know what I mean, whether you're doing anything illegal or not. You know what I mean, you remember color, and you remember that they remember color. But you know what I mean, when it's time for you to sleep with that white woman, or get you some you know what I mean, some Japanese or Chinese, or I know our brothers, you know what I mean, our brothers and sisters like to get in that anime and all of that. You know what I mean? So you thinking you want to get you something exotic, get you a Chinese, a Japanese, or Korean or something like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You want to talk about you don't see color. You know what I mean? You remember color when they get your black behind locked up.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that brother, them two brothers that, you know what I mean, wanted to have a threesome with that white woman, and she lied like they always do and say that she was assaulted. And they didn't even do it. They didn't want to do an investigation. You know what I mean? So they was gonna lock that brother up just like they did the Central Park 5. You know what I mean? Just like for the same reason that they burned down our cities. You know what I mean? Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Rosewood, Seneca Village. You know what I mean? All of these different places. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean, we like to say we don't see color, but you know what I mean, they see color when it's time to burn your black city down.
Right.
You know what I mean? When it's time to lock you up. You know what I mean? You get a reality check. You know what I mean? But it says, you only have I known of all the families of the earth, meaning the Most High only knows you, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. He don't deal with all these other nations. Go ahead, read on.
God. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
Nah, he gonna punish all these nations. Read that again.
On top, sir?
Therefore,
I will punish you for all your iniquities.
I will punish you for all your iniquities. Just like, you know what I mean, you tell your child, you know what I mean, you tell your child, hey, I want you in the house when that street light come on. And if that street light come on and your child ain't in the house, you going outside and you you know what I mean, you snatching your child up.
Right.
You're like, I told you to come in the house. And the child always want to be like, well, no, I was over here with Billy and then we was over here doing this, that, and the third. And what your mama say? What your daddy say? That ain't my child. You know what I mean? Like, I told you to come in the house. I mean, I don't care what them other kids doing. You know what I mean? My mama used to say, don't let Billy and them get you effed up.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? Because she ain't gonna go out there and chastise Billy and them. She gonna come out there and chastise you. Your father gonna come out there and chastise you because you're their child. You know what I mean? That's how the Most High is with his children.
Right.
You know what I mean? The Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's why we suffer from the diseases that we mentioned before. You know what I mean? When we eat these abominations. Whereas your oppressor, the damn Moabites, you know what I mean, the so-called Chinese and them nations over there, they eat in all manner of filth.
Right. And
they live into 100-something years old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You got what's his name? The Liver King. I don't know if y'all know who that is.
The Edomite.
Yeah, the Edomite. He
right.
be, you know what I mean? They be eating raw meat and you know what I mean? I seen they eating sashimi pork. Y'all know what sashimi is, right? It's like just raw meat. You know what I mean? Usually it's like fish. You know what I mean? Where like, I don't know if y'all eat sushi, but like they'll eat like you know what I mean, raw fish depending on the type of fish. But they eating raw chicken and raw, which is, you know what I mean, chicken is lawful, but like they eating raw squid and raw spiders and raw pork.
It's like a shrimp.
Raw shrimp. Like that's what a ceviche is. You know what I mean? Where they take you know what I mean, shrimp. There's lawful ceviche as well. You know what I mean? You can go right over next door and get you a lawful tilapia ceviche. But what they do is take like raw shrimp or like you know what I mean? It might be they might use some lawful fish or some unlawful fish, but like they take it raw and they just like squeeze some citrus juice over it. And that, because the citrus starts to cook the abomination, the shrimp, but not enough to where it's like it's still raw. It's like barely cooked on the outside because of the acid of the citrus, but it's raw. You know what I mean? But they eat things like that. You know what I mean? These Edomites, or the so-called white man. You know what I mean? They eat things like that. They eat. I remember when I was working in the culinary field. My executive chef at the time, he was telling me about this restaurant he worked at, and he was saying I forget what it was called, but the theme was like they was in there eating lion, eating bear, eating shark. I remember I came out here when I first came out here. I went to this gun show in Texas, and they had all manner of jerky. They had like bear jerky. They had like it was like shark fin soup. You know what I mean? But that's the type of stuff that these other nations is eating. And again, you know what I mean? You see, you still got Liver King up?
Yeah, I'll put him on right now.
But you know what I mean? They living. You know what I mean? They living. They not going through the things that we go through, that we suffer from. You know what I mean? Your auntie getting you know what I mean, her foot chopped off, you know what I mean, at 47 years old, because she just can't put that catfish down. Or she loved them crab boils. They love to go to Papados after church. You know what I mean? Whereas your Christian pastors, or not Christian pastors, these other nations, you know what I mean, they eating all manner of filth. And they looking like this man right here. You know what I mean? They out here looking healthy. They looking healthy and they living. You know what I mean? They making a living and making a career. You know what I mean? Off of these things. But you can't do that because go ahead back to that. What was it? Amos?
Mm-hmm.
2.
Common Kind is the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 2.
You
only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
So that's why these other nations can be 10 times as disgusting. You know what I mean? Where we just eat a little, it's just a little shrimp to us.
Right.
It's just a little pork chop. You know what I mean? What they say, I've been eating it all my life. You know what I mean? We just eat a little pork chop. You know what I mean? Whatever, we put bacon on everything. You know what I mean? But they around here eating shark and bear and lizards and, you know what I mean? The alligator, you know what I mean? That alligator, I ain't gonna lie. That alligator, you know what I mean? Confession is good for the soul. That alligator slapping, you know what I mean? I don't know if y'all been to pop it up. Go ahead.
That's heavy. Like when you say the dietary law, like a lot of Christians, you know, they love their pork, and I'm from the South, from Louisiana, so they love their seafood. And you tell them, you know, about the dietary law, you know, they'll battle with you with that. You know, I just tell them, you know, you eat pork, and why you don't eat dog or cat?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So what's
Right.
the difference?
Right.
Like where I'm from, you think we got a thing called a coon, and you got like a what do you call that? What do you call that? Like a muskrat. Usually you find a muskrat is like is in the swamp. So I used to tell them, why you don't eat that? Like I tell my pop, like why you don't eat that? You know, they can't give you a straight answer. Why you don't eat bat?
Right.
You know, shit. Eat pork, you know, eat bat.
Right.
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 So that's crazy.
It's heavy. What you want to say something?
Yeah, now I was gonna say the reason why they don't is because it's against the law in America. So they follow America's dietary laws, but not God's.
Right. And that's the heavy part. Like the Christian pastors like to say, like the scriptures. It's a heavy point which I just brought out. Like the scriptures that they pull to say that you can eat anything, like what they go to Acts. You know what I mean? When we was talking about Cornelius, they say they read that and say where it says what I've clean, call not thou common. You know what I mean? They say that to eat they, you know what I mean, they pork. But like you said, like they not gonna eat because the Most High cleaned it, right?
Right.
There is no dietary law.
Right. So
like you said, eat that back. Or since there's no dietary law, you know what I mean? I can, you know what I mean? You should. What's wrong with Jeffrey Dahmer?
Right. Right.
What's wrong with being cannibal? The Most High cleaned it, right? Well, the Most High called clean, call not thou common, right?
Right.
They're gonna look at you crazy, just like you were saying, because they do believe in a dietary law. You know what I mean? They absolutely do. But
not even it says it in the scripture, but in the world is known as one of the nastiest creatures on earth. You can feed a pig, a rat, anything, it's gonna eat it. It's known to be one of the nastiest creatures.
Right. That's heavy right there. It's like you would think, like, come on now, brothers is eating intestines, bro.
Right.
Like you gotta eat, you gotta clean any food, Salakia, anything that you gotta clean feces off of before you eat, you would think that you wouldn't want to eat it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But brothers, you know what I mean, be in the sink, whole house smell like doo-doo. Right. You know what I mean? Grabbing that, they'll go to HEB, grab that big old red tub.
Right. Good.
You know what I mean? To be in the sink cleaning doo-doo out your food, bro. You would think that would be disgusting enough. Go ahead.
I don't like this. I'm trying to like. I don't know how far I can go back or maybe do some research. Where's the origin of us at Israel to want to eat swine? And I thought I could probably go back as slavery. I mean, because the Edomite gave us gives us the scraps. I mean, they didn't give us the good meat. They gave us the bad meat. And I'm pretty sure they understood. They had this Bible. They understood what would be a foundation to us and try to kill our soul with God by feeding this crap. So I think as today we still stuck out. We still stuck on that mentality, and our ancestors continue to teach us there's nothing wrong with it. That's like really that's a road to death. That's an abomination with God. So that's a road to death there.
Now that's you might find this. See if you can find this picture. It's a black and white photo of it's like a slave. It's either an oppressor or a slave standing next to this bucket that's tipped over, and it's all manner of like organs and filth inside it. But that what you just said was absolutely correct. Like, and it's so heavy. Let's get Judith the 5th chapter real quick and verse 20. It's so heavy because that's again, this Bible is a history book, and the sooner we realize that this is a history book, you know what I mean, the sooner we can get our, you know what I mean, the sooner we can, you know what I mean, get the hell out of hell. You know what I mean? Because the same things that they use today, you know what I mean, the same thing that they use today to destroy us is the same thing that they used then. You know what I mean? The same thing that they use today to destroy us is the same thing that they used in you know what I mean, the 1600s when they, you know what I mean, had us in slavery. It's the same thing that they used in, you know what I mean, the Bible. You know what I mean? We're about to get one example in the Bible. We're about to get one example of the Bible of why they do these things. Go ahead, read it when you got it. Judas, the 5th chapter, 20th verse. Well, we you know what I mean, we're about to get this example, but you go to the Maccabees and they would do this all the time, like the brother said. Like, for them to be able to conquer us, they have to get us to get away from our laws. You know what I mean? They gotta destroy us in that way. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean, you read these records, that's why the Romans 15, you know what I mean, 15:4 says the things written aforetime. Is that 15:4? The things written aforetime are written for our learning, so that through patience and faith, the faith through the scriptures, we might have hope. You know what I mean? We supposed to read these records and see that you know what I mean, we supposed to read these records and see that this is, anytime any other nation wants to get above you, they're going to make you violate your laws. Right. You know what I mean? And this is why. Go ahead and read what you got.
This is the book of Judah, chapter 5, verse 20. Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against his people, and they sin against their God, let us consider that this shall be their reign, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them.
So the only way that they can overcome you is if you violate your law, statutes, and commandments, and violate your culture. That's why they commissioned your Christian pastor to teach these lies, to teach you that the law is done away with, teach you that God loves everybody, to teach you to not see color. You know what I mean? So then we sleep with these other nations, with the Most High said for us not to do, which it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. You know what I mean? We eat, you know what I mean, these abominations and call it food. You know what I mean? Whereas at one point, like he just read that again, Baba Kishar.
Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against this people.
Any error. So this is a military tactic that they're using right now. When they tell you that the law is done away with, and they tell you that, I don't see color, or when they push that LGBTQ community joint, and they say you're not a real man if you don't support your son trying to become a woman. You know what I mean? You're not a real man if you don't tote that LGBTQ flag like Marlon Wayne, like what's his name, the basketball player, Dwayne Wade. That's his name, right?
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? They try to say you're not a real man if you don't do that. If you don't put on a dress, you know what I mean? Like Tyler Perry, you know what I mean? And all these other actors that made a living off of, you know what I mean? They set their career by wearing a dress. You know what I mean? That is a military tactic, and we're reading it right here. Right. So, like, you about to say something?
This is still Bobby. So I just still on time. We talk about eternal lifestyle. Now, I was my son, the Gadawa died. He spoke at the in camp in Oklahoma. It went over my head when he said the gay ABCs. And when he said that, I was just thinking about the alphabets of the eternal lifestyle. And he was talking today. He was laughing at me. I said, "What you laughing for?" He said, "That's actually something. The gay ABCs." I looked it up. I went online, looked it up. It's on YouTube. And actually, there's a book called The Gay ABCs, and the lady was going through the alphabets. And you could bring it up. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I lost my mind. I'm like, what in the hell is going on?
This is first of all, this is disgusting. Yeah. This is a military tactic right here. When they're targeting grab for me, Bob Kashah, Psalms 83 real quick.
I got it right here. Now I'm showing you. It's something else.
And that's why they oh my God. The Queen. Oh my God. Wild. Yeah, I've had enough of this place, man. But that's why they going into, you know what I mean, where you can't teach the Bible in school, but you can send a 7-foot tall, bearded, breasted LGBTQ member into your preschools and have them twerk and have story time with this, you know what I mean, this big, you know what I mean, he's supposed to be a warrior,
right?
You know what I mean, but he's standing in here in front of me in my face playing, you know what I mean, with these heels, you know what I mean, and you know what I mean, all that in a wig, talking about some, you know what I mean, call me, I don't even want to play this game, but you know what I mean, calling me by a woman's name, you know what I mean, you got a full beard, you know what I mean, you look at what's his name, the Olympian, what the hell is his name, the Kardashian,
Bruce Jenner,
yeah, Bruce Jenner, you know what I mean, where he was an Olympian and now, you know what I mean, he lop off his rod and now he's woman of the year. You know what I mean? That's a military tactic against Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You got that Psalms 83? Read where it says the name of Israel may be no more remembered. I believe it's around the third or fourth verse. But this right here, that's why the scriptures say the things written aforetime are written for our learning, man. So we're supposed to look at these records, what we just read in Judith, the 5th chapter, and see that, because that was a military, you know what I mean? That was a military, that was a captain and you know what I mean, a captain and a general having a conversation, you know what I mean, about how we gonna move on these people, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean, and they were trying to move on us. That was a military tactic. Like, okay, for us to be able to move on, these are those people. You know what I mean? This is the type of people we dealing with. They came from this land and they come from these people from you know what I mean, this bloodline. And this is what I've noticed, you know what I mean, over the generations when they're following, you know what I mean, when they're following their culture, right. You know what I mean, the Lord is with them. You know what I mean? Their God is with them. You know what I mean? But when they don't follow these laws, statutes, and commandments, they I believe it says they basically they lost many battles. You know what I mean? So the conclusion, what we just read in verse 20, you know what I mean? The conclusion was, all right, so if we want to move on them, we got to get them to violate their laws. That's a military tactic. That's why you got these, you know what I mean, these gay BCs. You know what I mean? That's why you got these where they won't let you teach the horror story of, you know what I mean, Black, Hispanic, and Native American slavery in America, but they will teach you about you know what I mean, transgender awareness. You know what I mean? That's a military tactic. And this is the reason why. Go ahead, read what you got.
The book of Psalms, chapter 83, verse 4. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
They have said what?
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So why do Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans not have a culture? Go ahead, read that again.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Why do we call ourselves a color in a crayon box? Read that again.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Go ahead, read on.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So that you don't have your culture, you don't know who you are. You know what I mean? You calling yourself, for the longest, we was calling ourselves Africans. We are not Africans. They sold us. We were merchandise to the Africans. And they call us, you know what I mean? They call us cotton pickers, akata. You know what I mean? When they come over here, they don't call themselves African Americans. You know what I mean? They call themselves Nigerians. They call themselves you know what I mean, by the nation, by their you know what I mean, by the nation that they descend from, because they come over here and they have their culture, but we don't have our culture because these other nations got together with one consent to make sure you forgot who you are, man. And that's what they do. That's why when you see these things, you got to understand that this is a military tactic, and this is a military tactic that they've used over and over and over again throughout our history. You know what I mean? But we repeat that history because we don't know our history, because we don't get in these records, because, you know what I mean, these Christian pastors, they don't read you these scriptures. You You know what I mean? They teach you lies and call it, you know what I mean, and call it the holy word. You know what I mean? They teach you lies that, oh, God loves everybody. And, you know what I mean, he sent the son to die for everybody. You know what I mean? When every other nation don't need salvation. You know what I mean? So you've been teaching these lies, you've been taught these lies, and, you know what I mean, we passed these lies down for generations, where at one point they had to force you, you know what I mean? They had to force your oppressor, the so-called white man, he had to force himself on our women. These, you know what I mean? And then these women, you know what I mean, they're women, you know what I mean, they would use their tears and their influence on their men to destroy us. You know what I mean? But now we willingly choose them. Like we was talking about earlier. That you know what I mean, that what the brother brought out about the pig. You know what I mean? At one point they had to force us to eat them chitlins. You know what I mean? Them pig feet and them hog maws and you know what I mean, all of that. And now we willingly cleaning the doo-doo out of our, you know what I mean, out of the intestine of the pig and putting it in our stupid ass, it's like a stupid mouth. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. They had to force these things on us at one point, and now we do it willingly because we don't know our history, and our history is right here in this book. You know what I mean? Is it any more than that?
Verse 5. For they have consulted together with one consent.
Well, you could drop that. But they came together to, man, this is a military tactic. I mean, same thing with what the brother was talking about with the pig. You know what I mean? They gave us the scraps. You know what I mean? We had to make it work because we was slaves. You know what I mean? We ain't know no better because we didn't have our culture, which is why we went into captivity in the first place. But, you know what I mean? They gave us the scraps. You know what I mean? Same with the what's they call it? I don't want to call it food, but you know what I mean? The shellfish that we eat. The shrimp and the lobster and the crab and all of that. You know what I mean? They fed us that in our captivity because, you know what I mean, it was trash. It was trash. And now man, if you tell a sister to not get a crab boil, she gonna bite your damn head off. She gonna cuss you out. You're gonna be all types of stupid N words, and you're gonna be all type that finger gonna get the wagging and pointing, and that neck gonna get the rolling, and she gonna throw a fit. You try to take that crab boil up out of there. You know what I mean? When you got these mukbangs where these sisters, you know what I mean, covered in butter with these long nails, you know what I mean, covered in butter dripping all down your hands and in your lip, and they smacking all in the camera. You know what I mean? Sisters be watching that, envying that. When at one point they had to feed us that trash, they had to force feed us that trash. You know what I mean? But now, you know what I mean, we willingly, you know what I mean, do these things now because, again, we don't have our history. We don't know our history. You know what I mean? Because, it's like it. But because of the, you know what I mean, the lies that we've been taught. But the sooner we get into this history book called the Bible, you know what I mean, the sooner we can see these military tactics that they use so many times, time and time again, so that they won't work anymore. So we could be like the Maccabees, where, you know what I mean, that mother, you know what I mean, she was like, you better not eat that pork. You better go out like your brothers. You know what I mean? Right. They done killed, Slacky. They done took the life of, you know what I mean, 6 out of 7 brothers. And the youngest one, you know what I mean, the king tried to be like, hey, look, you ain't got to go out like your brothers did, man. Just eat this, just taste the bacon. I know it smells good. Come on now. Come on. It's just bacon. And, you know what I mean, nowadays, the mama, you know what I mean, your mama, she going to be like, just eat the bacon. Just eat, it's just bacon. Right. Come on. Just to save the life. And she'll think that she's doing something good, trying to save the life of her child. Just eat the bacon, baby. You know what I mean? So she could, you know what I mean? So she could preserve the life of her child. But that mother, you know what I mean? You read the Maccabees, that mother was like, look, you better go out like your brothers. You know what I mean? And they knew the reason why they went out like that willingly, you know what I mean? They was, I think they done put one in a frying pan. They done chopped the limbs off of the other one. Right. They done burning them up in the furnace. They doing this, that, and the third. They going out like crazy, one by one. You know what I mean? But the reason why they was willing to go out like that is because they knew their history. Right. They knew their history. They knew their culture. They knew what the Lord said not to do. And they knew also that they'll come back, man. And they might lose their life in this life, but they're going to get their reward for following these laws, statutes, and commandments. And they understood the importance. They understood the military tactic that's used against Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man. And they understood that if they did this thing to try to preserve their life, their entire nation would be in turmoil. But that's the important to know in these records and having this history book. You know what I mean? If you're not already, you know what I mean, brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, get in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, man, in your, you know what I mean, your nearest city. Right. You know what I mean, contact the school in your area. Get involved with your camp leader. Start your 90 days. Get in on black, brothers. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So wrap your head, come to class, sisters. You know what I mean? So that we can get this culture back. So they can stop using these same military tactics against you, black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. That's the only way you're going to be able to rule. Anybody hold on any scriptures? We hold on anything? Any questions? Any questions or comments or anything like that?
No questions in the chat.
All right. All right. With that, I'm gonna say, you know what I mean. Slacky. Before we do that, you know what I mean. If you haven't already, like, share. You know what I mean. Like and share the class. You know what I mean. Subscribe to whatever social media platform that you know what I mean, watching on. You know what I mean? Push this truth. You know what I mean? Get this truth out here, man.
Right.
Because this is what's going to get us out of this hell, man. You wonder why black people are struggling to find out what their culture is. You try to figure out why, no matter how much money we make, we still slaves in this country. Like Kanye West, you know what I mean? Millionaire. Nick Cannon. You know what I mean? You name it. You know what I mean? No matter how much money you get, though, you know what I mean? Your oppressor is involved. You know what I mean? In fully in control of your pockets. Right. So as soon as you do something that they don't like, you know what I mean, Kanye West, he went from being a billionaire to, you know what I mean, back to a millionaire overnight. You know what I mean? Because your oppressor is the one that's really in control. So you want to learn, you want to figure out why that is. You know what I mean? This is where you get your answers from. You know what I mean? And then you know what I mean, we try to build this generational wealth. You might be able to put a little something in your pockets, but then when you pass, you know what I mean, we ain't got no wisdom. So once you pass and all your wealth, you know what I mean, is gone, and you ain't got nothing to pass to your children.
Right.
Go ahead.
They rise you up just to turn you down with the Kanye situation. After Adidas would not drop them from drop the Yeezys. Now they selling their shoes and stuff for like half the price.
Damn.
Like they.
Yep, that's exactly what they be on. Like, as long as the only way that you can make it in this country is to be a puppet, you know what I mean, for your oppressor's evil. You know what I mean? You got to put on a dress. You know what I mean? You got to degrade yourself in some way. You have something?
I just go back to the scripture, Proverbs 1:22, the simple ones, but it was simplicity. But we just keep on falling for the same thing, like the brother just said. Like, you see Kanye West, like they use you and profit off your image and your likeness, and then once you completely mess up and they know they can't make any money with you, you trash them now. Dirt. I mean, it's just a lot of them, like, to go back to a lot of celebrities they ain't seen that. Like, come on, brother, you gotta, stop being simple-minded. You gotta, like I said, like the scripture you said before, it's written in the past time for our learning. And we still falling on our face. You know what I'm saying? Tripping on our feet.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just crazy. That's heavy.
Absolutely. Like, you want to know why, like, you look at, you know what I mean, Nick Cannon, like, the life looks so lavish. You know what I mean? They got all these, they looking good. You know what I mean? They driving these fancy cars. You know what I mean? Living in these big old houses. But then as soon as you try to reach out for your culture, you know what I mean, as a black man, you know what I mean, they show you who's in charge.
Right.
And even though you're telling the truth, they're going to show you that they're in control. You know what I mean? They're going to show you that they're in control of your pockets. The only reason why you are wealthy is because of them. They're going to make sure you feel it and that you never forget it. To where now you got, you know what I mean, Nick Cannon, you know what I mean, he had to tuck tail and denounce everything that he knew was true for the sake of, you know what I mean, staying on Viacom. And I believe that's what it's called, right? The network?
No, I'm not sure.
Wildin' Out?
Yeah, Wildin' Out. I think it's Viacom. But to stay on that network, you know what I mean, he had to denounce everything that he knew was true. You know what I mean? Kyrie Irving, same thing. He posted that link, you know what I mean? And they start, you know what I mean? They hit his pockets for, I believe, $500,000. You know what I mean? He had to take some sensitivity training, and you got to denounce everything that you know is true. You know what I mean? To keep that dollar. Go ahead.
Then another thing, like, they not willing to die about it, because, the Illuminati and all that stuff, they keep track of with them and all that. They scared of it too, so they only go so far for the truth to get out.
Yeah, they're not gonna go for it all. You know what I mean? They're gonna shut up and dribble.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're gonna try to do something. They're gonna try to, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean, like I said before, you know what I mean, your oppressor is going as soon as you try to reach out for what your culture is, they're going to cut you off and remind you who's in charge. You think you got some paper, you think you in charge if you want to. You know what I mean? They're gonna hit you with $250,000, they're gonna hit you with a $500,000 fine, make you take some sensitivity training, and then on top of it to humiliate you and really show their power, they're gonna here, put that dress on.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how they gonna do you. You know what I mean? So you want to know, you know what I mean, why that is and how we can get the hell out of this hell, how we can get out of this cycle, you know what I mean, get out of from up under the thumb of your oppressor, you know what I mean? Share the class, you know what I mean? Share the class with your family, man, so that we all can be on the same page, man, so that we can get in this history book and be able to look at, you know what I mean, these military tactics that they using and be able to avoid them, you know what I mean, not fall victim to them, you know what I mean? So like, share, subscribe, you know what I mean? Tell a friend, you know what I mean? Tell your brothers, tell your sisters, tell your mother, you know what I mean, to tune in, you know what I mean, so that we can get our brothers out of hell. But with that, I mean, I'm gonna say Imadium, which means to stand. Go give a courtesy salute to the brothers, individual, Imadium Shabbat, Imadium Barak,
Yahweh Shem Yahweh
Yad Yamata. Sorry, we're gonna turn the face of sisters, give a courtesy salute to the sisters, individual, Imadium Shabbat. Imadium Barak, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Yad Yamata. Dismiss.